I know, you're wondering what studying and learning have to do with mechs and giant robots from anime and manga. Bear with me here, I promise you everything will make sense in the end. I'm gonna tell you a story, the story of a boy, a student who was struggling a lot. His story begins in a summer morning. He's sitting in a chair in front of an office, waiting for someone who, once again, will not show up. He's waiting for a professor he had a fight with. Not an actual fight like a fist fight, no, just a verbal confrontation about his last exam, the only exam left before his graduation, and now the professor won't see him. He doesn't show up at his office, doesn't reply to emails, he disappeared. Now, it has been 2 hours in front of that door, and the boy, the student, doesn't know what to do. He decided that enough is enough. The last exam is not the only thing he has in mind. He is also completely stuck with his dissertation. Formally, he started writing it 2 months ago, but in reality, he hasn't written a single word, and he doesn't even know why. He feels paralyzed, trapped, miserable, and he's closer than ever to quitting. Studying, learning something new has always been his passion, but years of frustration and stress in college led to complete burnout. He is empty now. The last drop of motivation he had is gone. But he knows himself, and he knows that if there's one thing that could cheer him up a bit is his monthly dose of comic books. So he hops on his black bicycle and he starts pedaling towards the comic book store. A second before paying for his comics, he realized that this time reading will not be enough. He has to do actually something in order to shut down his sadness for at least a couple hours. He needs to feel engaged, active, in charge. And that's when he sees something on a shelf. A Gundam model, a kit depicting a mech from the Gundam multiverse, a Gundam Exia. The fans call those kind of models Gunpla. He's never felt any kind of interest in building models of any kind. Until that moment, it seemed like a stupid, boring hobby for people with too much time on their hands. But there's something about that robot. The boy just can't stop looking at it. Maybe it's the prospect of learning something entirely new as he used to do when learning was still something he loved. Or maybe it's just the amazing plasma cannons. The owner of the shop, a friend of his, warns him. Those Gunpla, he says, are like a drug. They could ruin his student's life. Once you start, you'll not be able to stop. His words are lost in time.
Like tears in rain.
5 minutes later, the boy is on his bike, balancing a giant cardboard box on the handlebars. The rest of the day and the night as well are basically a black hole of scissors, plastic and tiny pieces to assemble. As soon as the boy sees the mech, he knows that he can't stop there. He needs to build more. And then he makes a mistake. He googles the word Gunpla and a new world opens up in front of him. A world of madmen that not only build but also paint, modify, combine those robots with infinite passion and creativity. Blogs, forums, YouTube channels, shops, competitions, books, reviews, techniques to learn, tens of thousands of mech lovers and unlimited possibilities. The exam, the dissertation, the university, the professor, the anxiety, they're gone. There's only the next robot to assemble, the next technique to master, the next tool to buy, the next project to start. The boy's room in a matter of days transforms into a laboratory. There are tools everywhere, on the floor, on his desk, on his bed. A strong smell of paint permeates everything. It's funny, but it's not enough. Not for him. He wants to become good at it, really good. He wants to build a robot designed entirely by him and enter a competition. He wants to prove to himself once again that he's able to learn effectively and achieve concrete results with his own hands. It's time to get serious, so he starts applying the concept of effective learning he knew about. He gets better quickly and decides to find a mentor, an old friend of his who is also an expert in model building. He takes notes, he listens, he observes. 3 months later, the time for the competition arrives. The boy is ready, his mech as well. He doesn't win the first place, but he feels like a winner nevertheless. He didn't reach the amazing level of the true experts, but he did manage to improve his own skills beyond every expectation in a really short period of time. He designed and built his mech putting together pieces from 3 different models. The main one of the 3 is the same first one he bought that summer morning, his Gundam Exia. He suspended the mech on invisible threads to make it fly. He damaged it, simulating an old machine ruined by dust and innumerable battles. It's not perfect, by far, but it's good, and he loves it. And while he was building his robot, the boy also regained his motivation and his will to learn. He passed his last exam with an almost perfect grade, despite the fight with the professor still ongoing, and he started writing his dissertation. He became better at studying too, incorporating in his method new elements he discovered while learning about models. He discovered once again the power of patience. He is confident he doesn't feel empty anymore. Maybe it was that plastic robot bought in a summer morning to fend off the pain. Maybe it wasn't a mistake. Maybe it didn't ruin his student's life after all, but it saved it instead. And now, years later, that robot is still behind the desk of the boy. Now it's not a student anymore. I'm looking at it right now, that old, rusty, damaged mech, and I'm still so proud of having built it. Even when you're dealing with studying and learning, sometimes the answer you need don't come from a book or a lesson. Sometimes they may even come from a robot.